For years, financial gurus, talk shows, and best-selling books have repeated the same mantra. Your $5 daily coffee is the reason you're broke. It's catchy, it's simple, and it almost feels true when you do the math. After all, $5 every single day adds up to more than $1,800 a year. At first glance, that sounds like money that could have been invested, saved, or used to pay off debt. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Focusing on coffee is one of the biggest financial distractions of our time. Think about it. Do you really believe your financial struggles, your inability to save, or the reason you feel stuck has anything to do with a latte? If skipping a coffee was the secret to building wealth, millions of people would already be financially free. But the reality is different. People who cut out coffee often end up redirecting those small savings towards something else: fast food, small online purchases, or another daily indulgence. In fact, research shows that nearly 65% of consumers underestimate their true monthly discretionary spending because they focus on small habits while ignoring the bigger leaks. The $5 coffee myth survives not because it's accurate, but because it gives us something easy to blame. It's far more comforting to think a single habit is the problem, rather than facing the deeper patterns draining our wallets. If your coffee isn't making you broke, then what is? Where is the real money disappearing month after month? And why don't we notice it until it's too late? Every month, millions of people carefully watch their grocery bills, cut back on coffee, and even skip small pleasures. Yet, they still wonder why their bank account feels empty. The answer often hides in places people rarely pay attention to: recurring expenses. Subscriptions, memberships, streaming services, cloud storage, software trials, and gym passes quietly pile up, pulling money without much notice. Studies reveal that the average consumer underestimates their subscription spending by 40%, and nearly 60% forget they're even paying for at least one unused service. That forgotten $12.99 charge each month doesn't look harmful until you realize it drains more than $150 a year for something you don't even use. But subscriptions are only the surface. Look at delivery apps and impulse online shopping. A person who buys 3 takeout meals a week, each costing $20 with fees and tips, ends up spending over $3,000 annually without realizing it. Add to that premium plans for apps you barely open, insurance upgrades you didn't need, or that second streaming platform you signed up for just to watch one show. And suddenly, it isn't coffee that's draining your wallet. The problem is this: small recurring charges feel harmless because they hide behind low numbers, but they compound with frightening speed. If left unchecked, these silent drains steal more from you than any single luxury purchase ever could. Which raises the real question: if subscriptions and impulse habits can erode thousands from your yearly budget, what happens when your income rises and you unknowingly upgrade your entire lifestyle along with it? When people think about getting ahead financially, they often imagine a promotion, a raise, or a better paying job as the solution. More money equals fewer problems, right? But the truth is, for many households, more income simply creates more spending. Economists call this lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the most underestimated financial traps of all. Picture this: you land a raise of $500 a month. Instead of saving or investing that extra cash, it quietly disappears into a larger apartment, a newer car lease, nicer dinners, or gadgets you once thought were luxury. The math is sobering. Studies show that over 70% of Americans increase their spending within 6 months of getting a raise, leaving them no better off than before. Lifestyle creep doesn't just eat raises. It locks you into a cycle where your standard of living keeps climbing while your savings stand still. Even worse, the pressure to keep up accelerates the problem. Social media, advertising, and peer comparison fuel the desire for constant upgrades, from the latest phone to high-end vacations. And once these upgrades become part of your normal routine, scaling back feels like a downgrade, even if it's the only way out of financial stress. The danger isn't that you're spending $5 on coffee, but that every time you earn $500 more, you find a way to spend $600. And that leads to a critical question. If income growth alone can't protect you, then what hidden forces are actively taking money from you, even when you think you're playing it safe? While everyone debates over coffee and subscriptions, there's a quieter villain draining money from millions of accounts every single year: fees and penalties. These are the silent cuts that hurt the most because they usually strike when you're already vulnerable. Overdraft charges, late payment penalties, annual credit card fees, ATM surcharges, and junk fees from banks often go unnoticed until the damage is done. In fact, recent data shows that Americans paid more than $11 billion in overdraft and non-sufficient funds fees in just 1 year. That's billions taken from people who could least afford it. Late fees tell a similar story. A missed $35 credit card payment doesn't just sting once. It can snowball into higher interest charges and even a hit to your credit score, costing far more in the long run. And then there are the sneaky add-ons: processing fees, booking fees, service charges that seem tiny in isolation, but collectively siphon hundreds of dollars annually from the average household. These invisible costs work like a financial tax on those not paying attention. So here's the unsettling truth. You're not just fighting bad habits. You're fighting an environment designed to profit from your mistakes. But that still leaves one final piece of the puzzle. If coffee, subscriptions, lifestyle inflation, and fees aren't the real solution, then what actually builds wealth? And how do you take control before it's too late? After tearing down the myths, it's time to face what really drives financial security. Building wealth isn't about depriving yourself of small joys. It's about making intentional choices with the big picture in mind. And here's where the numbers become clear. Studies show that households who automate saving at least 15% of their income consistently build long-term wealth, regardless of whether they indulge in daily coffees or not. It's not the $5 latte, it's the absence of strategy. Think about how compound growth works. Just $200 invested monthly at a modest 7% annual return grows to more than $240,000 in 30 years. That's not theory, that's math. Now compare that to canceling coffee for a decade. You'd save around $18,000. The difference is staggering. The problem isn't small treats, it's failing to redirect money into vehicles that multiply over time. The wealth builders aren't the ones skipping lattes. They're the ones who set up automatic transfers, avoid lifestyle creep, and crush high-interest debt before it snowballs. They prioritize what actually matters: clear financial goals, steady saving, and mindful spending. This doesn't just create security, it creates freedom. The freedom to enjoy coffee, dinners, or vacations without guilt, because your future is already funded. So the real question is this: if coffee isn't your downfall and discipline with small pleasures isn't the answer, then why do so many people still struggle financially? The answer lies in choices, systems, and consistency. And those who master these are the ones who quietly build lives of independence while everyone else keeps chasing the wrong culprit. The $5 coffee myth was never the real story. What holds people back are recurring drains, lifestyle creep, and hidden fees that quietly erode financial stability. True wealth comes not from sacrifice of joy, but from strategy, discipline, and the choices that shape your financial future. If this video opened your eyes, don't stop here. Take control of your money today. Subscribe for more straight-to-the-point insights. Share this with someone who still blames coffee, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next myth-busting breakdown that could change your financial life.